The scalding coffee hit her face before she even saw it coming. One moment, Janelle Morrison was standing at the Starbucks counter waiting for her morning latte. The next, she was soaking wet, her white blouse stained brown, her cheek burning red. And the woman who threw it? She was screaming, "Go back to where you came from! People like you don't belong here!" The entire coffee shop went silent. 20 pairs of eyes. Not one person moved. Janelle stood there, dripping, shaking. Not from fear, from something deeper, something that had been building her entire life. She didn't cry. She didn't yell back. She just stared at the woman, blonde hair, expensive purse, face twisted with hatred, and said 5 words that would change everything. "You just made a huge mistake." The woman laughed. "What are you going to do? Sue me? Good luck with that, sweetie." But here's what that woman didn't know. What nobody in that Starbucks knew. What would be revealed in the most shocking way possible just 72 hours later. Janelle Morrison wasn't just a customer. She wasn't just another black woman being humiliated in public while people watched and did nothing. She was the CEO of the largest coffee distribution company in North America. She owned the supply chain that kept over 4,000 Starbucks stores running, and in 3 days, she would own the entire chain itself. This is the story of how one moment of hatred became a movement of justice, how silence became power, and how the woman everyone ignored became the woman nobody could forget. Let me show you exactly how this happened. Janelle Morrison grew up in South Memphis, Tennessee, in a neighborhood where coffee wasn't fancy. It was what her grandmother made at 4 a.m. before heading to her cleaning job at the hospital. Her grandmother, Miss Dorothy, worked 3 jobs her entire life. Cleaned offices at night, washed dishes at a diner on weekends. And every morning she'd brew the cheapest coffee she could find, add a little sugar, and say the same thing. "Baby, life's gonna be bitter sometimes, but you add your own sweetness. You control that." Janelle never forgot those words. She studied business at community college while working night shifts at a coffee roasting plant. While other students partied, she learned everything about coffee, from bean to cup, where it came from, how it was processed, why some coffee cost $2 and some cost $20. By 25, she had started her own small distribution company with a loan from a local credit union. By 30, she was supplying coffee to restaurants across the South. By 38, she had built Morrison Global Distribution into a powerhouse that supplied beans, equipment, and logistics to major coffee chains nationwide, including Starbucks. Her company didn't just deliver coffee, it was the coffee supply chain for half the country. If Morrison Global stopped delivering, thousands of stores would run out of inventory within 48 hours. But most people didn't know that. They didn't know her face. They didn't know her name. They just drank their lattes and went about their day. And that morning, October 14th, 2024, at the Starbucks on 5th Avenue in Manhattan, Janelle had walked in wearing jeans and a simple blouse, looking like any other customer. She had just come from a meeting with Starbucks executives about a major expansion deal. She was tired. She wanted a coffee, something normal, something simple, but nothing about that morning would be simple, because standing in line behind her was a woman named Patricia Whitmore, 52 years old, wealthy, angry, and about to make the worst decision of her entire life. But just when she thought life was hard enough, things took a darker turn. It started small. Patricia was on the phone, talking loud enough for everyone to hear, complaining about those people moving into her neighborhood, complaining about diversity hires ruining her company, complaining. Janelle ignored her. She'd heard it all before, the microaggressions, the side comments, the way some people looked at her in business meetings, like she couldn't possibly belong. But then Patricia stepped closer, close enough that Janelle could smell her perfume, close enough that when Patricia spoke, it was directly into Janelle's ear. "You people always take so long to order, holding up the line like you own the place." Janelle turned slowly, looked Patricia dead in the eye. "Excuse me?" Patricia smiled. Not a friendly smile. A cold one. "You heard me?" The barista behind the counter shifted uncomfortably. A young guy, maybe 22, named Kevin. He looked at Janelle, then at Patricia, then down at his register. He didn't say a word. Janelle took a breath. She had been here before. In boardrooms, in stores, in restaurants. Always having to decide, do I respond? Do I walk away? Do I let it go? She chose dignity. "I'm just trying to get coffee, ma'am, just like you." Patricia's face twisted. "Don't ma'am me. I'm not your friend, and I'm tired of—" "Next customer," Kevin called out, louder than necessary, trying to cut the tension. Janelle stepped forward, ordered her latte, paid, moved to the side to wait. Patricia ordered right after, a complicated drink, extra hot, oat milk, 2 pumps of vanilla, 1 pump of caramel, no foam. She complained the whole time, about the price, about the wait, about everything. And then, when her drink came out, she claimed it was wrong. "This tastes disgusting. Make it again." Kevin apologized, made it again. Still wrong, according to Patricia. "This is unacceptable. I want a refund and a free drink." Kevin hesitated. "Ma'am, I've made it twice exactly how you—" "Are you calling me a liar?" Silence. And that's when Patricia noticed Janelle again, standing quietly by the pickup counter, scrolling her phone, minding her own business. But Patricia's anger needed a target. She walked over, stood right next to Janelle, and said loud enough for everyone to hear, "This is what happens when they let just anybody work here. Standards drop, quality drops, everything drops." Janelle looked up. Her jaw tightened. "I don't work here." Patricia laughed. "Oh, I'm sure you don't. Let me guess, you're a CEO or something?" Janelle said nothing. And that silence, that quiet, controlled silence, it enraged Patricia even more. Because in Patricia's world, people like Janelle were supposed to shrink, apologize, disappear. But Janelle didn't move, didn't blink. Patricia grabbed her coffee cup, the one Kevin had just remade, the one that was still steaming hot, and she threw it, straight into Janelle's face. The liquid hit her like a slap, hot, shocking, humiliating. Janelle gasped, stumbling back. Her hands flew to her face. Her blouse soaked through instantly. The shop exploded into chaos. Someone screamed. Kevin dropped a cup. A customer pulled out their phone and started recording. Patricia stood there, chest heaving, face red. "That's what you get." Janelle wiped her face slowly. Coffee dripped from her chin. Her cheek was bright red where the heat had burned her. But she didn't yell, didn't cry, didn't lash out. She just looked at Patricia. And in that moment, something shifted. "You just made a huge mistake," Janelle said quietly. Patricia laughed again. "Oh, really? What are you going to do? Call the manager? Call the cops? Good luck, honey. People like me always win." Janelle didn't respond. She pulled out her phone, made one call, said 3 words. "It's time. Do it." Then she walked out. Patricia stood there, triumphant, laughing with her friend who'd been watching the whole thing. Kevin, the barista, was shaking. He didn't know what to do. Another employee handed Janelle napkins as she left, whispering, "I'm so sorry." But no one stopped Patricia. No one called the police. No one even asked if Janelle was okay. Because that's how it works, isn't it? The aggressor gets comfort, the victim gets silence. But if you think that was heartbreaking, wait until you see what came next. Within an hour, the video was everywhere. Someone had posted it on Twitter, then TikTok, then Instagram. Then the news picked it up. Black woman assaulted in Starbucks while bystanders watch. The footage was clear. Patricia throwing the coffee, Janelle's face, the silence, the laughter. By that evening, Patricia Whitmore's name was trending. Her employer, a marketing firm in Manhattan, released a statement. "We do not condone this behavior. Ms. Whitmore is no longer employed with us." Patricia went on the defensive, posted an apology video that wasn't really an apology. "I was having a bad day. I let my emotions get the best of me. I'm not a racist. I have black friends. This is being blown out of proportion. But the internet wasn't buying it. Justice for Janelle started trending. People dug into Patricia's past, found old posts, found complaints from former co-workers, found a pattern. This wasn't a bad day. This was who Patricia was. But here's what nobody knew yet. Janelle Morrison hadn't just made one phone call that morning. She'd made several. The first was to her COO, David Chen. "Pull the contract," she'd said. David knew what that meant. Morrison Global Distribution had been negotiating a 5-year renewal deal with Starbucks. Billions of dollars, exclusive supply rights. Janelle told him to cancel it, immediately. The second call was to her legal team. "I want everything. Assault charges, civil suit, emotional distress, public discrimination, everything." The third call was to her board of directors. She told them what happened, and then she told them her plan. "I'm buying Starbucks." There was silence on the line. "Janelle," one board member said carefully, "Starbucks is a publicly traded company worth over $90 billion. We can't just—" "I know exactly what it's worth," Janelle cut in, "and I know exactly how to do it. Trust me." They did, because Janelle Morrison hadn't built a coffee empire by accident. She'd built it with strategy, vision, and an understanding of leverage that most people couldn't even imagine. See, Morrison Global didn't just supply coffee to Starbucks. They supplied the logistics, the equipment, the packaging, the entire back-end operation. If Morrison Global pulled out, Starbucks would collapse within weeks. Stores would run out of coffee, equipment would break down. The supply chain would shatter. Janelle knew that. Starbucks knew that. But the public didn't. So when Janelle's lawyer sent a letter to Starbucks corporate headquarters outlining the assault, the public humiliation, and the company's failure to protect a key business partner, it wasn't just a lawsuit. It was a declaration of war. The letter included one simple demand: sell the company, or watch it burn. Starbucks executives panicked. Emergency meetings, crisis management teams, PR consultants. They tried to reach out to Janelle, apologize, offer compensation. She refused every call. Because Janelle wasn't interested in apologies anymore. She'd spent her entire life accepting apologies that meant nothing, accepting thoughts and prayers while nothing changed. This time, she wanted action. She wanted power. She wanted the ability to make sure this never happened again. To anyone. Meanwhile, Patricia's life was unraveling. She'd lost her job. Her friends were distancing themselves. Her husband filed for separation. The video had been viewed 50 million times. She tried to disappear, deleted her social media, stayed inside, hired a lawyer. But the damage was done. And the worst part? Patricia still didn't understand what she'd really done. She thought this was about a cup of coffee, about a bad moment caught on camera. She had no idea that the woman she'd humiliated was about to become the most powerful person in the coffee industry. Just when it seemed all hope was lost, something incredible happened. 72 hours after the incident, Janelle held a press conference. She stood at a podium in a sleek conference room, wearing a navy suit, her face calm, her voice steady. Behind her, a screen displayed the Morrison Global logo. Reporters packed the room. Cameras flashed. The world was watching. 3 days ago, Janelle began, I was assaulted in a Starbucks. Not because I did anything wrong, but because of the color of my skin. She paused. Let the weight of those words settle. I've been thinking a lot about that moment. About the coffee that hit my face. About the laughter that followed. About the 20 people who watched and said nothing. Her voice didn't waver. But I've also been thinking about my grandmother, Dorothy Morrison. She cleaned office buildings for 40 years. She served coffee to people who never learned her name. She smiled at people who never smiled back. And you know what she taught me? Janelle looked directly into the camera. She taught me that dignity isn't something someone can take from you. It's something you carry, no matter what. The room was silent. So here's what I'm going to do. Morrison Global Distribution is pulling all contracts with Starbucks, effective immediately. That means over 4,000 stores will lose their primary supplier within 48 hours. Gasps from the reporters. But that's not all. I've spent the last 3 days working with investors, board members, and financial institutions. And as of this morning, I have secured the necessary funding and shareholder support to purchase a controlling interest in Starbucks Corporation. The room exploded. Cameras flashed faster. Reporters shouted questions. The news anchors looked stunned. Janelle raised her hand, waited for quiet. I'm not doing this out of revenge. I'm doing this because change doesn't happen when we ask nicely. It happens when we take action, when we build, when we refuse to accept the world as it is and demand it become what it should be. She let that sink in. Under my leadership, Starbucks will become a model for inclusion, for accountability, for justice. We will train every employee on anti-racism and de-escalation. We will create a zero-tolerance policy for discrimination. We will partner with Black-owned suppliers, invest in underserved communities, and make sure that what happened to me never happens to anyone else. Her voice grew stronger. And to Patricia Whitmore, the woman who threw coffee in my face, I want to say this. I forgive you. Not because you deserve it, but because I refuse to let your hatred define my life. You tried to humiliate me. Instead, you gave me the push I needed to do something I'd been thinking about for years. Janelle smiled, a real smile. So thank you. Because of you, thousands of people will have better jobs, better opportunities, better lives. You threw coffee at me, and in return, I'm going to build something beautiful. The room erupted in applause, but Janelle wasn't done. One more thing. I'm establishing the Dorothy Morrison Foundation, named after my grandmother. It will provide scholarships, business grants, and legal support to Black entrepreneurs who've faced discrimination. Because my story isn't unique, it happens every day, and we're going to change that. She stepped back from the podium. The reporters swarmed. Questions flew. But Janelle just walked out, head high, shoulders back. And in that moment, the world shifted. Within 24 hours, Starbucks shareholders approved the sale. Janelle Morrison became the first Black woman to own and operate a major coffee chain in America. Patricia Whitmore watched it all on TV from her apartment, alone, ashamed, powerless. She tried to reach out, sent an email through Janelle's lawyer. A real apology this time. Tears, regret, a plea for forgiveness. Janelle read it, then deleted it. Because some lessons can't be learned through words. They have to be lived. So what does all this mean for us today? This story isn't just about coffee. It's about power, about who has it, who doesn't, and what happens when the rules finally change. Think about it. How many times have you seen something like this happen? Someone being humiliated in public, someone being treated like they don't matter, and everyone just watches? We film it, we post it, we share it. We say, that's terrible. And then we move on. But what if we didn't? What if the person being attacked wasn't powerless? What if they had resources, connections, leverage? That's what makes Janelle's story so powerful. She didn't just survive, she transformed. But here's the uncomfortable truth. She shouldn't have had to. Janelle Morrison shouldn't have needed to be a CEO to be treated with respect. She shouldn't have needed billions of dollars to get justice. She shouldn't have needed to buy an entire company to make people listen. But that's the world we live in. In America, Black women face discrimination at higher rates than almost any other group. They're interrupted more in meetings, paid less for the same work, dismissed, ignored, and gaslit daily. And when they speak up, they're called aggressive, angry, difficult. Janelle could have been angry. She had every right to be. But instead, she chose strategy. She chose power. She chose to build something that would outlast the moment. And that's the lesson here. Not that we should all become billionaires to fight racism. but that we should use whatever power we have, our voices, our votes, our wallets, our platforms, to create change. Because silence doesn't protect anyone. It just protects the system. Think about the people in that Starbucks, the ones who watched, the ones who filmed but didn't intervene. They're us. We've all been in moments where we saw something wrong and didn't act, didn't speak up, didn't help. Why? Fear. Discomfort. Not wanting to make a scene. But here's what we need to understand. Staying silent isn't neutral. It's a choice. And it's a choice that always benefits the aggressor. Janelle didn't need people to fight Patricia for her. She needed someone, anyone, to say, "That's not okay," to ask if she was hurt, to be a witness. But they didn't. And that silence was almost as painful as the coffee itself. Now let's talk about Patricia, because it's easy to make her the villain. And she was wrong, deeply, inexcusably wrong. But Patricia didn't appear out of nowhere. She was shaped by a society that taught her she was superior, that her comfort mattered more than someone else's dignity, that she could act without consequences. And for most of her life, she was right. She did get away with it, over and over, until she didn't. That's the thing about power. It blinds you, makes you think you're untouchable, until suddenly you're not. Patricia lost everything because she thought she was above accountability. And maybe, just maybe, that's what needed to happen for her to finally see the truth. Janelle's decision to forgive her wasn't weakness. It was the ultimate power move. Because forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. It doesn't mean excusing. It means refusing to let someone else's poison destroy you. Janelle forgave Patricia. But she also made sure Patricia could never hurt anyone else the same way. That's justice. Real justice. And it's something we can all learn from. Because we're all going to mess up. We're all going to say the wrong thing, make assumptions, hurt people without meaning to. The question is, what do we do next? Do we deflect, make excuses, hide, or do we own it? Apologize genuinely, change our behavior? Patricia chose deflection, and she paid the price. But there are millions of Patricias out there. People who don't throw coffee but who make life harder for others in small, invisible ways. And there are millions of Janelles. People who wake up every day and face a world that underestimates them, disrespects them, and tries to make them small. This story reminds us that those people are watching, listening, remembering. And one day, they might just change everything. Before we wrap up, there's one final truth you need to hear. 6 months after Janelle took over Starbucks, something extraordinary happened. A young woman named Aaliyah walked into a Starbucks in Atlanta. She was nervous. It was her first day as a new manager. She'd been promoted from barista after just 8 months, something that rarely happened before Janelle's reforms. As she unlocked the door that morning, she saw something on the wall. A plaque. She hadn't noticed it during training. It read, "In memory of Dorothy Morrison, who taught us that dignity isn't given, it's carried." Aaliyah stood there for a long moment. She didn't know who Dorothy Morrison was, but she felt the weight of those words. Later that day, a customer got angry, started yelling about a drink, started making comments about Aaliyah's hair, her accent, her competence. The old Aaliyah would have shrunk, apologized, taken it. But something about that plaque stayed with her. So instead, she stood tall, spoke calmly, and when the customer refused to stop, she did something that would have gotten her fired at the old Starbucks. She asked them to leave. "I'm happy to help you," she said, "but I won't accept disrespect. Not to me and not to my team." The customer left, furious, posted about it online, and you know what happened? The internet rallied around Aaliyah, supported her, praised her, and Janelle Morrison herself called the store, spoke to Aaliyah directly. "You did the right thing," Janelle told her. "That's exactly why we built this." Aaliyah cried, not from sadness, from relief, because for the first time in her life she worked somewhere that protected her, valued her, believed her. That's the real victory. Not the money, not the headlines, not even the revenge. The victory is Aaliyah and the thousands of employees like her who now walk into work knowing they matter. Janelle Morrison didn't just buy a coffee chain. She changed the culture, the expectations, the possibilities. And it all started with one moment of humiliation. One choice to stand up, one decision to turn pain into power. As for Patricia Whitmore, she moved out of New York, took a job in a small town in Vermont. She volunteers at a community center now, teaches computer skills to seniors. She's quiet, humble, different. Some people say she's just hiding, but people who know her say she's genuinely changed. Whether that's true or not, we may never know. But here's what we do know. One moment can change everything. One choice can ripple out in ways we can't imagine. Janelle could have stayed silent, could have walked away, could have let the moment pass like so many others. But she didn't. She stood up, spoke out, took action. And because of that, millions of lives are different now. So the next time you see something wrong, ask yourself, what would Janelle do? Would she stay silent? Or would she stand? Would she shrink? Or would she build something better? Because the truth is, we all have power. Maybe not billions of dollars, but we have voices, we have choices, we have the ability to make someone else's day a little less painful. And sometimes, that's all it takes. One person, one moment, one choice to say, not today, not anymore. This ends now. Janelle Morrison walked into a Starbucks for coffee, and she walked out with a revolution. All because she refused to let hatred have the last word. That's the power of dignity, the power of strategy, the power of turning your pain into someone else's freedom, and it's a power we all carry, every single day. We just have to choose to use it. Because sometimes the hardest stories are the ones that heal us all.